Tonight, what better way to end off a successful regular season than at the World Center of Racing in good old Daytona Beach, Florida, where at the beginning of Season 4, we began a new era at the Canadian Motorsports Network on the iRacing service. Good evening, folks, and welcome to another live production for Season 4 of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. It's the Firecracker 200 at Daytona International Speedway, round 13 of 20. It's your final race of the regular season, as you can see there on the race intro graphic. And now we will pan over here to our faces, of course. Welcome to the commentary booth. Once again here, my name is Regan McCauley, your main play-by-play and broadcaster guy, of course, from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. On the other side, he's been here since the very beginning. It's Jordy Carher from Alberta, Canada, all the way on the other side of the country. Now, Jordy, we are coming off the final intermediate race of the season at Texas Motor Speedway, where we had several different leaders, only one incident-related caution, which is quite the feat that we were able to get on the track, and a driver went back-to-back on intermediate tracks, so no surprise whatsoever. We saw points leader Corbin McCauley leading the most laps at 80 of 166, but did he ever struggle throughout the Wingsnot 250? Every stage was a case of running well until the green flag pit windows, and the icing on the cake was someone else saving their tires in much better form by the end. And just like Kansas, it was rookie Jared Ireland getting the job done from an 11th place qualifying result, claiming his second career NASCAR Series victory and becoming the new leader in the rookie points standings. With 39 laps led and the fastest average lap of 35.494, Ireland is taking shape as one of the top contenders for the title at a pivotal point in the season. And now, here, Jordy, of course, at the start of the season, we all thought Justin Belmonte was the top rookie, as he, of course, won 2 races in a row at Daytona and Auto Club. But Ireland appears to be taking the helm with 2 wins and 5 top 5s within the last 6 races. And if the momentum continues into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs, we could see quite a dynamic change come after Daytona.
Well, anyone who's kind of known Jared Ireland over the course of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, they know the guy can race just about anything, and just further proof of that this past week at Texas, further punctuated, of course, by his performance at the iRacing 24 Hours of Spa, which we'll get to in a little bit, I'm sure, as well. But yeah, ultimately, the guy's just finding his form at the absolute right time here, peaking when it matters most. It sounds cliche, but, you know, he's finding that kind of positioning. He's been kind of there for a good chunk of the year. He's got 5 stage victories as well on top of the 2 victories. So, you know, he's a guy who's, as I say, he's been in contention. Now it's turning into victories. Now he's getting himself in a prime position where things really start to matter beginning next week.
Especially, too, and he'll want to get up there and try and get into the likes of a name like Corbin McCauley, of course, heading into the playoffs with 6 wins. Could very well be 7 here tonight, though, because he has shown the speed on the super speedways, but he still hasn't been able to get into victory lane just yet on the bigger tracks. He has been able to on the intermediates, but not yet at any of Daytona, Atlanta, or Talladega. But he will have another opportunity here tonight in his second attempt after finishing runner-up in the GTR 250, of course. And speaking here of the schedule, we're at race 13 of 20 in the entire season, and it's race 13 of 13 in the regular season. After tonight, the regular season is officially over, and the Earl Ross Cup playoffs begin for the 4th time in series history. Tonight's race will be 80 laps in length, with stage lengths at 25, 25, and 30, so this race tonight will be 20 laps shorter than the season-opening GTR 250. And one question that came into my mind as I was going through some of these little research and notes and such, Jordy, do you have any race in particular when you look at this schedule that particularly stands out to you the most, or are you maybe going to wait until after tonight's race at Daytona to have a quote-unquote favorite?
Wait, are we talking like the playoff schedule, or where are we going?
No, like every race we went through in the regular season so far, is there any that stands out to you the most, or are you going to try and maybe wait until after tonight, because maybe tonight will be that case?
I mean, tonight could be a contender. I mean, I think last week with how clean everything was at Texas, so to speak, based on where our expectations were, I think that has to be a contender as well. And I mean, there's been excitement in, lots of different races and different formats. Things have gotten a lot better since eliminating the fast repair. I'd have to say that. But yeah, I think it's only just going to get better and better from here.
For sure, for sure. Now let's take a look here at last week's results at the Wing Snob 250 at Texas Motor Speedway. We already talked about Ireland and McCauley. Scott Bailey earned his third podium finish in a row, finishing third for the fourth time this season and earning his 10th top 10 finish in a row. Ironically, the only race, that one race, he hasn't finished inside the top 10, the season opener at Daytona. So we'll have to see if he'll find some redemption there tonight. He finished 16th back in May. Defending champion Ty Higginbottom started 6th and finished 4th. It was his first top 5 finish since Homestead on May 9th. Rookie Justin Belmonte wrapped up the top 5, earning his 6th top 5 finish of the season and 3rd top 5 qualifying result in a row. Fellow rookie Dylan Bahm fell short of a top 5 but came home with a solid 6th place run. He scored his 4th pole of the season but still has yet to get his first career victory. 7th through 9th sees 3 drivers that qualified outside the top 10 but made their way up, being Darcy Ford, Jason Butler, and Mike Marini. And Jason Butler earned his 3rd top 10 finish of the season in what was by far his best performance all season, which could very well be a deciding factor in tonight's race. Jonathan Peden wraps up the top 10, and Jordy, I'll let you take it the rest of the way with drivers who didn't have as much luck with their results at Texas.
Yeah, so we'll go through the second half of the field. Again, you got Hunter Young a few laps down, but of course he has the win at Talladega. Not as much of a worry for him. Ditto with Matthew Paytak there in 12th. CD Mangrum finishing a few laps down in the number 1 Chevy there in 13th, but again, relatively comfortable. I believe actually locked in mathematically now to the playoffs. Michael Wolford's kind of right on that bubble right now in terms of being automatically locked in, but I think if he takes the green tonight, he's there. But anyway, 14th, 4 laps down. Then you get to guys who didn't get the full race distance. Tom Janikowski, 12 laps down. Ryan Gibson, another one of those guys who's kind of teetering until he takes the green tonight there in 16th, 34 laps down. He and Andy Hurdle were caught up in that one major wreck that we had last week along with Jose Mercado there. And I think we said it was a broken toe link that ultimately did Kyle Knoll in last week. But again, he's a guy who's pretty well locked in for the playoffs as it stands. So the effort or the results didn't necessarily have to be there for a majority of those drivers. But from here on, every position is going to count.
Indeed so, and speaking of that, as we get to the driver's standings here, Corbin McCauley, continues to steamroll the field as per usual, the guy on the other side of my wall, although he has been a little bit more inconsistent when it comes to getting into victory lane as of recently. He's still up there gaining as many points as possible. He quite literally had a race where he gained points even though he finished maybe not where he wanted to. But anyways, 4 drivers are locked in with wins, including 2 rookies. And all 3 super speedways so far this season at Daytona, Atlanta, and Talladega have seen different drivers, particularly underdogs and rookies, lock themselves in the playoffs with Belmonte at Daytona, Matthew Paytak at Atlanta, and Hunter Young at Talladega. There's no doubt that the trend could very well continue tonight with 4 drivers in particular. We'll get to that in a bit here. But Scott Bailey is the best of the rest as he continues to be the most consistent driver in the series, at least maybe besides McCauley, perhaps. But anyways, second in overall points. He's very overdue for a win. He's got the speed on the bigger tracks, just needs some better results. Then you've got rookie Kyle Knoll, who notably in the first half of the regular season was a rather mediocre qualifier, more so bottom of the top 10, just outside, but was an outstanding finisher with a couple podiums and top 5 finishes. Unfortunately, his last 3 races have resulted in 2 DQs, like you said there, Jordy, with the broken toe link. But he's another fast driver on the big tracks. Unfortunately, he will not be here tonight, though, so we'll be seeing him back once the Earl Ross Cup playoffs come around. And guys like Ty Higginbottom, C.D. Mangrum, Darcy Ford, and Dylan Bahm should have no problem being contenders tonight, although Magrum's car became a space shuttle at Atlanta, and he had a messy performance at Talladega, particularly in the final couple laps, so he'll look to find some super speedway redemption. But where the most important storyline lies is the playoff cut line. Because everyone from Andy Hurdle and up should be considered safe. likely safe for a spot in the Earl Ross Cup playoffs, but Jason Butler there in 16th place could very well lose his spot if any of those top 4 drivers below the cut line shock the world with a win tonight, including Mike Marini, Jose Mercado, Daniel Cudmore, Mark Cox, and even worse for Butler is all 4 of those guys below the cut line have shown incredible speed on the super speedways this season, with especially with guys like Cudmore and Cox getting podium finishes at Atlanta. That's one I remember for sure. But Jordy, it sounds like according to recent calculations by you, those are really the only drivers eligible for a shot, as Jonathan Warren and Tom Janikowski are both outside the top 20 in points, which is a rule in the rule book relating to drivers committing and such, kind of, fairness in there. But other than that, though, we may very well witness the most dramatic race of the season tonight, although that might be a completely different story once we get to the playoffs. But before the playoffs, this could very well be it.
Yeah, I mean, it's now or never, right? Like, that's probably going to be a theme that we repeat over the course of the evening. And you mentioned it already. All 4 of those drivers, 17 through 20, they've shown the pace. Jason Butler has 2 notably with the pole at Talladega, if I recall, and 2 past poles in this very Daytona night race back in seasons 1 and 2. So he's a guy who can find the pace on the super speedways. It's just a matter of kind of consolidating a solid finish to make sure he gets into the playoffs for the first time. He's been that 17th place man twice. He doesn't want to do it a third time.
No, he does not whatsoever. And if we look at the rookie standings very, very quickly, here's qualifying is about to come to an end here. Jared Ireland leads the way now. Justin Belmonte led the way for a couple of weeks, but Ireland's recent victories, including the one last week at Texas, now has him 1 point over Belmonte heading into the regular season finale tonight. And again, Ireland's recent surge has definitely shown a lot more consistency, which has definitely helped him along the way. Kyle Knoll and Dylan Bahm are very likely going to end up keeping those 3rd and 4th spots after tonight's race. But yeah, though, the thing is, it could be either one of those guys that come out as the top rookie after tonight, because again, that 1 point gap right there, if Ireland still does manage to finish in front of Belmonte, it's still going to come down to those stage points, those extra points that either one of those guys could gain. Just is a matter of who ends up getting more at the end of 80 laps here tonight at Daytona, especially too, knowing that the stage lengths are much shorter, and even the race length itself is much shorter than the GTR 250. At the beginning of the season, again, that was a 100-lap race. Tonight is 80 laps, so it's definitely going to be a lot more short time. There's going to be a lot more on the line there, especially without the faster pairs.
Yeah, I mean, all 4 of these guys very safely into the playoffs beginning next week as well. So that's where the real competition is going to begin. Of course, Belmonte with the win at Daytona to begin this season 4. And again, Ireland's been the man on form. Now just a 1 point gap between those two. That's going to be spicy here as we move along here in the, going toward the playoffs after tonight. But, they've proven that they can acclimate themselves within the series pretty well here. And again, all 4 of them are headed to Richmond next week with their eyes on the Earl Ross Cup in about 2 months' time.
Indeed so, and if we look here at the track very quickly here on pit row, cars are lining up here on the grid to get this regular season finale, the Firecracker 200 underway. So we will step back just for a few minutes here, just so I can go through race control, give these guys a quick message, make sure that, they don't try to win this thing on lap 1. So stay tuned for the engines to be fired up for one final race here in the regular season of Season 4 for the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. Gentlemen, start your engines! And I can confirm, yes, the fans definitely heard that one. I muted that intentionally. Your thoughts, Jordy?
I am speechless, I guess would be the best way to put it right now.
Well, I mean, drivers got to go all out. We might as well go all out as well. But let's get to the starting grid here for the Firecracker 200. On the front row, we got Mike Marini here on the pole in his number 12 Toyota. Alongside him, we got the reigning Rookie of the Year in the number 1 Chevrolet of CD Magram. And now here on the second row, we got rookie number 3, Dylan Bahm in the Toyota, once again starting up front again on a super speedway. And to his outside, the number 7 Chevrolet of Andy Hurdle will start 4th.
All right, well, let's move on to row 3 now. And rounding out the top 5 is season 1 Earl Ross Cup champion Ryan Gibson there in 5th in the number 23 Chevy. He's got a guy who's already locked in the form of Hunter Young, Talladega winner for company there in 6th. On to row 4, and we've got the man who currently is best of the rest right now, the number 88 of Scott Bailey. He'll start 7th. And he's got his NBR running mate and Atlanta race winner Matthew Patak on his outside. He'll start 8th in the number 21 Chevy.
And now moving on, we got the number 6 Ford of Justin Belmonte in 9th place. And rounding at the top 10 will be the number 17, a points leader, Chevrolet Corbin Macaulay. And then moving on here to the next row, we got the number 10 Chevrolet in 11th. That is Jason Butler. To his outside will be the number 64 Chevrolet of Darcy Ford.
Moving on to row 7 now, we've got the number 33 Chevy of Jonathan Peden, one of the 2 Floridians here in tonight's lineup. He'll start 13th. Now we get to the defending Earl Ross Cup champion Ty Higginbotham, the number 97 Toyota out of Asheville, North Carolina. He starts 14th. On to row 8 now, the other Floridian in the field, the number 41 Ford of Jose Mercado, starting 15th. He'll have Michael Wolford on his outside in 16th. In the number 36 Chevy.
And now the final 2 rows here. We got the number 93 Chevrolet of Tom Janikowski starting in 17th. And then we got to his outside, that will be last week's winner of the Wingsnop 250 at Texas Motor Speedway, the number 13 Chevrolet of Jared Ireland. Now here on the final row, oh my goodness, it is the number 2 Ford of Daniel Cudmore, 19th place. And rounding out the field to make it a 20-car field for tonight's Firecracker 200, it's the number 98 Ford of Mark Cox. So these 2 guys, again, are below the cut line, but both of them have shown the pace on the super speedways to very well upset everyone and get the job done and potentially lock themselves into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. But again, it can only be one of them.
Yeah, it could be a Hail Mary for anyone outside the top 16, but one of those guys is on pole position. I think things are spicy already here, Riggs.
Indeed so, but again, though, it's Marini in first, and then looking at the rest of the grid here, Butler's in 11th right there, the last guy above the playoff cut line, and then Mercado's 15th, Cudmore 19th, and Cox 20th, so there's definitely a lot of separation for guys, or for Butler above the cut line, then the 4 guys that are below the cut line, so we're seeing a lot of diversity here throughout this starting grid, and as the cars will roll off turn 4, the pace car will also roll off, but he will head on to pit road. The cars will head to the start-finish line. One last race in the regular season of Season 4. We're underway at Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Racing. The Firecracker 200 is underway.
Great jump there from both Marini and Baum. That inside line looking real good here in the very opening meters.
So as the field comes down the back straightaway, about 4 or 5 cars deep on the inside line, single file. CD Mangrum now makes it 3 cars as he's going to send his number 1 Chevrolet up there side by side with Scott Bailey. Only 4 cars there on the high side. There is one other guy towards the very back. I believe that's Jose Mercado. Falling back a little bit right there. But Mike Marini, his number 12 Exalta Toyota, is going to lead lap 1 of the Firecracker 200. And again, I just want to keep giving that reminder to everyone. It's only 25 laps per the first 2 stages. And then it's another 5 more laps there for that 3rd stage. So again, there's a lot less time, and there's going to be a lot more on the line when it comes to getting some extra stage points, especially, I would say in particular for guys that may already be locked in, or, those guys that still don't have a win yet but are pretty much mathematically locked in. You still want to get those extra points so that you can have somewhat of an advantage heading into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. And again, too, we could quite literally look back at this race as a potential deciding factor for who could become the Season 4 champion, the first champion on iRacing.
And if we're going to talk about reminders here, Riggs, I think we have to go back to even before the season started. There was a certain Daytona test. I didn't watch all of it, but I know you were there. Why don't you remind the people who wound up winning that?
Indeed so. That was in fact your leader, the number 12 on Mike Marini. It wasn't in the most, maybe to some drivers, maybe not the most fair fashion. I'll say it was controversial fashion, as Marini was bump drafting. I don't recall who it was exactly, but Marini was bump drafting someone down the back straightaway and inevitably bumping a little too much, sent the car around, big wreck heading into turn 3. Marini was able to walk away or drive away scot-free, and take the victory in that preseason non-broadcaster race, of course. It was not for the public, so he does have a Daytona win on his resume, not officially, but he does have that experience, so there's no surprise to see him here up front. It's just, again, in the regular season with official points races, it just, that unofficial win hasn't translated per se.
No, it definitely hasn't, and I mean, that's why he finds himself, 22 points outside the playoff picture as they took the green flag here tonight. So essentially it is really very much winning you're in for the 17 through 20. Really, even mathematically, there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room there. Just got to get the job done here tonight if you're any of those 4 who still have a shot on the outside.
Indeed so it is now looking about 5, maybe it might eventually become 6 cars deep on the inside single file. It's Marini, Dylan Bahm, who's won 4 poles this season, still has yet to get a victory. There's Ryan Gibson, the number 23, who has had a bit of a roller coaster of a campaign, a guy who is kind of maybe similar to a guy like Scott Bailey in recent seasons. I think you might have a little bit more to say about that, but Gibby, on the other hand, has been a little bit more inconsistent. He's more lower in the points right now. If I take a look right now, he currently sits 13th in points, which based on his overall experience in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, he would definitely want to be, in a better position. But then again, though, all the points reset once we get to the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. He could very well have a turnaround come playoff time whenever we go to Richmond next Tuesday night. And also,
the thing about Gibby, 7 victories in total. His last one, the Daytona night race in season 2.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes, that's why I'm glad to have you there, because you know about the history before whenever I finally showed up here to the network, of course. But again, another thing I wanted to mention too was that someone could very well do a sort of Jimmy Johnson, where quite literally in the regular season, you still try to at least mathematically lock yourself into the playoffs. But as soon as the playoffs come around, that's the point when you really have to start, shaking things up and really start going for it. And there could very well be a lot of those guys towards the bottom of that, playoff field, as where the standings are right now. Those guys could start coming out of nowhere and, start fighting for it. Maybe some of the top guys in the standings might start to falter more. Literally anything is possible, just like pretty much tonight's race here at Daytona.
And that was Mike Nickens in season 3, if you recall.
Yes.
That was kind of how that went. No regular season wins, but was it 2 or 3 playoff victories? Minimum 2, I know that.
Yeah,
Let me
that would have
just pull
been,
that
yeah,
up.
Michigan and Las Vegas, I believe it was.
Ding, ding, ding. Give the man a prize.
So, yes, he won Michigan and Las Vegas last season, and both of those, I believe, yeah, both of those races were actually the first race of each round that he ended up winning in. I think, what was it, round 1, and then round, was it 2 or 3? Was it 2 or 3?
It was 3. The
Oh, it was
Vegas
3, yes.
win put him in the championship 4.
Yeah, okay, I guess the way I'll put it is I knew that, but I also didn't. So my memory was trying to get there, and I knew it was something like that. I just couldn't really tell for sure, but appreciate the clarification there, of course. So indeed, yes, he won the first playoff race in the first round in Michigan, and then round 2 he didn't win anything. He made his way in on points, and then of course round 3, first race at Las Vegas, he locks himself into the championship 4. Of course, it's unfortunate that we don't have him here for Season 4 because he could have very well put on an outstanding performance as a sophomore. Hopefully not had a sophomore slump in any case, but hopefully maybe down the line he may end up making a return in some capacity. Would you know at all if he's into iRacing at all, or maybe some of the road stuff that we might be having down the line, like maybe Dart?
That is... I feel like I know that answer, but it's not one that I have right offhand.
All right, yeah. No, that makes sense, but yeah. And we also would hope that Nickens would be tuning in to watch our races. We definitely would appreciate his support. He was a very, very likable guy, one of the more popular drivers on the grid last season, so we appreciate having him back in Season 3, of course, and whenever he does come back, if he ever does, then he is very welcomed, obviously. We're getting back to this racing here. Now it's about 3 cars here, single file on the inside between Marini, Bahm, and Gibson, who have remained the top 3 for this entirety here of this first stage so far. Meanwhile, you got Andy Hurdle and C.D. Magram there side by side for 4th place. There's been some runs. There's been times where that outside line falls back. It's just been kind of, back and forth right there. But what matters to Mike Marini right now is he's leading every single lap, although I would kind of think right now, though, you would maybe think with him, he would probably want to have this situation more maybe on the final lap or coming off a turn 4 to the checkered rather than now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, your restrictor plate tracks, your super speedways, like drafting is going to be at a premium, a little bit of conservation, but Marini's been at the head of the field the entire way here. He's been the one driving this proverbial train here. So you'd have to think that would be, a little bit more taxing on the number 12. And that could ultimately favor, someone like Jason Butler, who just moved up into, well, I was about to say 5th, drop back down to 6th, but he's made that move from 11th. So that's the guy, again, on the bubble to begin the evening. He's doing his best to try and make sure he's competitive here very early on and looking to hold that through the end.
Of course, the number 10 Chevrolet is sponsored by Rampage Coffee Co., Wing Snob, and Kyle's Fried Chicken. Judging by the scheme right there, Piping Kettle Soup Co., I believe is what I see on the side there. I don't know about the hood exactly, but a very nice paint scheme for Jason Butler right there. And again, Hurdle and Magram getting close right there for 4th place. That outside line is really trying to catch up and start going, having double file from 1st backwards, but instead it's 3rd backwards at the moment. But one thing I'm noticing here, we got a 3-car pack now just coming out of turn 4, going through the tri-oval. That would be Janikowski, Cudmore, and Scott Bailey. Mark Cox started last, but he decided to catch up in his number 98. That'd be Kit Kat Ford. He decided to catch up to the field and instead of staying back with these other guys here, of course. Again, Janikowski mathematically, based on your calculations, not eligible to get into the playoffs, even if he were to win a race. Meanwhile, Cudmore is eligible. On the other hand, he's trying to stay conservative here, as he does usually almost every single race. And then there's Bailey trying to, stay out of trouble right there. Again, a guy that, again, the number 88 has been very long overdue for a win this season. He's been extremely consistent. He's had 10 top 10s in a row. So, again, he's gotten multiple podiums recently, too, as well. Every single race, there's been he's there, but he just isn't able to get the job done, particularly against guys like Corbin McCauley and Jared Ireland.
Yeah, he's kind of the guy we've talked about playing, the long game a lot. This might be a little bit extreme. Started in 7th and now is at the back. But I think the bigger story right now is we've got a change at the front. Number 1 is, or was, number 1, Marini getting it back on the inside line.
Indeed, knowing that outside line was slowly gaining there on that inside line with that draft right there, I knew whenever we would go back to that 3-car pack, I just had that feeling that we would go back and all of a sudden it would just be double file everywhere. I'm not surprised by that whatsoever, but yes, CD Magram now to the lead, but he did kind of have it single file there, but now he's battling side by side there with Mike Marini there to the inside. Again, the number 1 Chevrolet CD Magram from Atlanta, Georgia, sponsored by Nordic Aluminum Incorporated, A1 Grassroots Lawn Maintenance and Landscaping, and I got to read that more, Marcor Construction Incorporated, and McBride Transmissions. So a lot of sponsors there for the number 1 Chevrolet, who's running, I believe that's a red and white Coca-Cola scheme, if my eyes are looking correctly right there. Marini's going to lead that lap right there. We're now on lap 16 of 80 here in the Firecracker 200. And we now have 10 laps to go in the first stage. Again, it's 25 laps in Stage 1 and Stage 2, 30 in Stage 3. So this stage has been, it's been ticking by. Drivers are logging laps, and they are able to, especially here, double file. It's been pretty solid here. I think we kind of saw something similar back at Talladega early on. It was a completely different story back in Atlanta, of course. But again, too, knowing that we don't have any more faster pairs, and knowing that there's less time here versus at the GTR 250, like, a lot's on the line, but these guys are proving that they're able to keep things double file and not, wreck them up.
And I think what we're seeing here now is we've just moved on to lap 17 here. I think, remember what we were just talking about a minute ago with Mike Marini kind of driving the train here, so to speak? He's content now to tuck in behind CD Magram on that inside line. Justin Belmonte currently your leader, but for Marini, again, that's a lot of additional effort exerted on that number 12, and is actually tucked in behind. Well, Belmonte's taking the inside line. It wasn't that Marini lost a place, but that's ultimately what went down there. And yeah, I think Marini won't necessarily mind this reprieve, especially if he's got to be fighting much later on when it really, really counts.
Indeed so, and we got a guy who we're a little bit more familiar with back on the road courses in previous seasons, especially back in Season 3, but this guy also was decent on the ovals, and I think even on the super speedways as well. That's the number 33, let me get this correct. GTR, driving for GTR, sponsored by Martin Boys Remodeling Incorporated. That explains the MBR logo on his side right there. Had to quickly make sure of that one, but the 33 is leading the way here. He hasn't had exactly the greatest season compared to how, again, last season went, and the thing is, too, this guy is coming off, 2 seasons in a row, I believe. Both times he finished runner-up in points. Both times in the Final Four, he finished second. So it's just, he's trying to go for the third time's the charm, but based on where he is in the standings right now and how his overall performances have been transitioning to iRacing versus NASCAR Heat 5, it's just hasn't really been the same. I mean, 12th isn't, terrible, but it's definitely not to his standards based on his overall resume.
But I think it's fair to say that, the first few races, there was an adjustment period. There was some difficulty in there. I think there may have even been a missed race in there at one point. But ultimately, Peden finding some pace as we're going to see some pit stops.
Indeed, we're going to see some pit stops. We saw a couple guys coming down pit road from the backpack. I believe that was Cudmore. Yeah, it was all 3 guys, Bailey, Jankowski, and Cudmore. So maybe that might explain why those guys were staying more back, maybe trying to think of some strategies right there. But a bunch of cars coming down pit road. Oh, and trouble for Dylan Bahm. He gets turned into his pit stall. I believe that was contact with CD Magram.
Yes, it would be.
Oh, and Belmonte's going to have trouble getting out of his pit stall as well. So a couple shenanigans going on right there with a couple guys in the pit lane. So that's going to cost Dylan Bahm a lot of time. Magram ends up falling back there as well. And trying to, again, see as this other pack of cars now come down. Pero trying to see, I think Corbin McCauley might have been the first car off of pit road out of that group.
I think he was.
So he took full advantage of everything that just happened there. And we'll take a look here at these guys on pit road. I think Wolfer might have had a bit of an awkward entry into his pit box. And he gets hit from behind in an invisible manner.
And I have to wonder if maybe there was kind of an alternate strategy in place there for McCauley as well, because, again, 5 laps until you're out of caution. Why not try something for 5 laps if you think it might work?
Indeed. So on lap 21 of 80 here, Jared Ireland leading the way as there's going to be a bunch of cars here at full speed coming around turns 1 and 2. And that would be Corbin McCauley leading the way here as he is rushing around these other guys right here. And it looks as though he's going to get in behind Wolford, give him a bump here and try and help him out. There's a 4-car pack there coming in behind with Marini. Let me get this on leaderboard. It'd be Marini, Mercado, Belmonte, and Ford, who all have a way more bigger runs than Wolford and McCauley, of course. But it's a 3-car pack here at the front with Ireland, Gibson, and Peden leading the way. So this could very well be that 3-car pack that's going to fight for those top 3 stage points here in this first stage, as now we're on lap 22. Although I do kind of wonder if this other pack might catch up in time, as we have... That would be... My math brain is not working. 4 laps to go, I believe it would be.
3 at this flag. It's lap 22
3 at this
right
flag,
now.
yeah. I think the humidity might be getting to me.
That's what they all say.
Yeah. So it'll be 3 laps to go here in stage 1 when they come back around. This other pack does very much look like they are catching up. I don't know if it's going to be enough there for the last lap, though. Again, though, that's 6 cars versus 3, so that's pretty much times 2.
Yeah, that just should add to the power of that draft, and ultimately you'd think they'd be able to pull in that lead group, kind of like your Tour de France peloton.
Indeed, so Hurdle is all alone right here with Paytak, Higginbottom, and Young catching up. Butler and Cox drafting together, Magram all the way back here. There's Scott Bailey, Dylan Bahm, Tom Janikowski, then there's Daniel Cudmore. Everyone is on the lead lap. So between Ireland and Marini, that would be 3 seconds separating those guys right there, as we're coming to 2 laps to go here in the first stage. So I don't think it's going to be enough for them to catch up by the looks of it, running about relatively the same speed. So I would imagine this is going to be the stage 1 finish right here, as I'm surprised I didn't mention this until now, even though it's been pretty much a given. You can see it visually, but we are, of course, racing under the lights here at Daytona instead of back at the GTR 250, where we were racing under daytime, like, you know, the usual Daytona 500. But, you know, it's the Daytona summer race. We got to run under night, and thankfully this time around, there's no Mother Nature to disturb us.
Indeed so, and yeah, this top 3, they're just kind of leaving a path of destruction here right now. And again, the guys who are 1-2 right now, Jared Ireland and Ryan Gibson, we mentioned it earlier, fantastic showing for those two, along with Michael Langley and, of course, Andy Hurdle at this past weekend's iRacing 24 Hours of Spa, presented by Falcon Tire, finishing second in their particular split with somewhere close to 600 laps completed, 581, 582, somewhere in that ballpark. Very impressive effort by all 4 of those drivers.
Indeed, incredible representation for the Canadian Motorsports Network. That's what we want to keep seeing from here on out, especially if we ever get the special event stuff going. But we are coming around the final corners here on the final lap of stage 1. Jared Ireland leading the way, and I believe that would be 6 stage wins.
That would be number 6 if it holds, yeah. That would be the most of any driver.
That will do it there for the first stage, as this other pack is going to come around right here. Jared Ireland is going to win stage 1 of the Firecracker 200. That'll be his 6th stage victory of the season. through 13 races now. Again, there's still 2 more stages left here to maybe get him maybe to 8 if he decides to go all out for that. But judging by the order here, it looks as though Ireland's going to take first. Ryan Gibson will take second. Jonathan Peen will wrap up the podium. Mike Marini will take fourth. Again, after we look at this driver tab, he led 14 laps. 14 of the 25 stage 1 laps, of course. A very good job from him. Again, a guy, he's in 17th in the overall points right now. That first out of 4 guys below the cut line that needs to win in order to get in. And then you got Jose. Sorry?
I was going to say, Marini's made his job maybe a little bit easier here. 7 points in that stage.
Yes.
None for Jason Butler. So that cuts the bubble gap to 15. It was 22 to start the night.
So would you say, if you made some calculations, is there a chance we could see it come down to points maybe?
It would be very tight. Both guys guaranteed a minimum of 17 points by virtue of having 20 drivers start tonight. So theoretically, you could say, like, you add those 17 on now, that would put Marini at kind of a live total of 299, Butler a live total of 314 effectively. So, like, there's a possibility that points could come into play. Marini's going to need a strong stage 2 to make that happen, make Butler sweat a little bit more, but it's not out of the question.
Indeed, so we'll continue the rest of the stage order here, just in case some cars decide to come down pit road. Jose Mercado gets 5th, Darcy Ford 6th, Corbin McCauley 7th, Justin Belmonte 8th, Michael Wolfer will take 9th, and wrapping up with that one extra stage point is going to be the number 21 of Matthew Patek, and just falling short of stage points are Ty Higginbottom, Hunter Young, Andy Hurdle. There's Jason Butler, as was mentioned by you, in 14th, Cox 15th, Magram 16th, Bailey 17th, Janikowski 18th, Dylan Bahm 19th, and Daniel Cudmore is the lucky dog back there in 20th. He was 1 lap down. And so everyone here on pit road under the stage caution. No incidents yet thus far, which is nice to see, although I may have very well just jinxed that right there. Ryan Gibson's going to be the first car off pit road. Second's going to be Peden. Third is Ireland, and trouble for Mike Marini, spinning off the pit exit right there, right out of his pit box, and that could be, again, it's still kind of early, but that could be potentially catastrophic for him, because again, though, you were mentioning, Jordy, there is a slight chance that points could be the factor instead of a win, but honestly, I would say it's much safer just to try and go for the win instead. So hopefully what just happened there with Marini doesn't carry on to the rest of the race. Again, the number 12 is still in 12th after those pit stops, so it's not over just yet. He could easily get his way back up to the front. We were seeing how consistent he was able to stay up there at the front, knowing his speed on the bigger tracks. He could make it look easy as anything, as he's actually catching up by the looks of it. Maybe he's actually in a better position, I would say. Maybe 8th place by the looks of it, as he's now slowing down. Or no, he's getting... What is going on?
Not entirely sure, but I can give you a little bit more insight on that point picture you were talking about, because by adding a couple of stage points, Ryan Gibson adding 9 there, Michael Wolford grabbing a couple for himself, they're now mathematically locked into the playoffs as well. So top 14 going into tonight, they're all guaranteed now to move on as of the end of stage 1. They're all going to be in competition for the Earl Ross Cup.
So that would mean, guys, towards the bottom there, that would be like Michael Wolford, Ryan Gibson, Jonathan Peen, Dylan Bahm, like all guys like that.
Will do.
And I had to kind of go into a loop there because I was hearing the voice chat. I'm not supposed to have that playing, of course. But, yeah, again, those names I was just mentioning right there, all those guys can consider themselves safe. They will fight for an Earl Ross Cup here in Season 4. But, again, Andy Hurdle and Jason Butler in 15th and 16th. They're not entirely safe just yet. Well, Hurdle might be a little bit more than Butler.
So live number on that. Hurdle is at 327 as of right this second. Marini at 282. So 45-point gap. Max point you can
The 12
pull
cars
from
kept
here
his
would
position
be
because it happened
50.
after the pit
But
lane
Hurdle's got
line.
17 guaranteed anyway. So you could go ahead and you could pretty well say he's going to be locked in eventually, just not right this particular second.
So yeah, I just got word there what happened with Mike Marini. Actually, I'm not surprised by this reasoning. It's expected. He spun after at the exit of pit road. It was after the line, so he still keeps his spot there in fourth place. So actually, that was not all catastrophic. Marini's still there in fourth. He keeps his. If my memory sucks, was it fourth in stage one that he got?
It was, yes.
Okay, yeah, so he keeps his spot. He spun after the line, the exit line there on pit road. So it's all safe for him. Again, that was a very, very close call. But anyways, he's still up there in fourth. Ryan Gibson leading the way. We're going to get back to green here at Daytona International Speedway. The Firecracker 200, stage 2, less than 25 laps. We're underway.
Yeah, 21 from here remaining in this stage. So we got ourselves 4 caution laps in that particular stoppage. So a little bit of a shorter sprint here. We'll have to see if some different strategies come into play.
Indeed, and the sun is setting a lot more here tonight at Daytona Beach, Florida. I can only imagine for stage 3 we're going to be completely under the lights. And as we're seeing here, as the cars are down the back straightaway, cars are trying to squeeze into that inside line. We saw that with Mark Cox, who just had a bit of a disappearing moment right there, and we also saw it with, I believe that might have been Darcy Ford there, but I'm looking more towards the back. Yes, that would be the 93 of Tom Janikowski going towards the back of the field here, trying to stay behind everyone and, try to avoid any potential carnage that could happen. Again, kind of the trend that we've been seeing here throughout Season 4. It's usually Stage 2 and onward, or maybe Stage 3 where things start to pick up. Again, Stage 1 is usually, it's all, it usually is, there's a green flag run the whole way, and then Stage 2 and onward, it literally, anything's possible, anything can happen. It's been very, very inconsistent every single race. It's been a roller coaster that we've witnessed, but I would say on average, it's usually Stage 2 whenever we start to get things rolling. I know back at Daytona with the GTR 250, it was the final lap of Stage 2 where we saw the first, and I believe it might have been the only big wreck of the race. There was like a 3 or 4 car wreck, I think, actually there might have been, in Stage 1 again, though. Maybe we could call that race an exception because it was our first one on the iRacing service, of course, but our first big wreck didn't happen until the end of Stage 2, so we're going to see here the field might try to maybe have a bit of a more clean record and keep everything more towards the third stage, which I think is kind of a similar thing we saw back at Talladega in a way there, which Talladega, again, the first super speedway race without the fast repair, and that went relatively well. And this one here, the first one back at Daytona, that difference there, GTR 250 did have the fast repair, but then here we don't in the return, so a lot of different, a lot of transitioning right there and such. But again, these guys are keeping it clean so far, other than maybe pit road.
Yep, that is a fair assessment, and it's an assessment I was glad to hear because if you recall, I was not on commentary for that first Daytona race, so it's nice to have that refresher.
About that.
Yeah, I wasn't around. I did watch a little bit of it after the fact, of course. But, I mean, ultimately, I got what I needed. Justin Belmonte got what he needed that night, and he was trying to do it again, although I don't see him up near the top of the board right this second. Top spot belongs to Michael Wolford, a guy who, he hasn't won a race in the series yet, and I just see Hunter Young making the move for the lead. Of course, he won Talladega a few weeks ago. And, yeah, I think with all these lead changes, I think it would be a fool's errand to try and predict anything.
Yeah, pretty much. We're getting a bunch of lead changes. If we look at the race summary very quickly, 10 lead changes, and yet there's now just under 20 laps to go in Stage 2. So we are 33 laps into this race now on lap 34, and there's already been 10 lead changes and 7 different leaders, which Would you know if there's any lead change or different leader record by any sort?
It's not jumping out at me right away. I think we had a fair few lead changes at either Texas or North Wilkesboro as well. I think Texas just last week. So that could just be the field tightening up as well.
Indeed, I don't recall it. I don't have an exact number. I'd have to go back and watch the stream and actually take a look there, go through the stream and see where we might have taken a look at that. But again, here so far, we've had, 10 lead changes, 7 different leaders. Hunter Young leading the way. He got his first career victory back at Talladega, of course, in what was a wild finish, completely full of carnage. He was able to make his way through, and Jared Ireland just fell short to him, of course, finishing in second place right there. And you know what? As a matter of fact, look at this here in second place. We got the 2 last Super Speedway winners. It's also Matthew Patak, who got his first career victory back in Atlanta.
But notably, Patak doesn't have any help right now. A little bit of assistance now coming from that high line in the form of Michael Wolford first, but for a brief moment there, Patak was kind of in no man's land, and that's going to allow the lower line to take an advantage here out of turn 2 onto that back straight.
Indeed, and looking here at our chat for the people watching here, 8 watching so far. We got 1 like. We appreciate those that have tuned in for this regular season finale for Season 4 of the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. I see Rebecca Larrick, however you say that name. I'm not great at pronouncing names whatsoever, but Rebecca, you're cheering on the number 21 of Matthew Patak. He's right up there looking for his second victory of the season and second on a super speedway, and you're even saying watch out for the 41. Yes, we all know about the aggressiveness of Jose Mercado. We know how fast he is on the big tracks.
And in a do-or-die race.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember even back at Daytona how aggressive he was. And again, we're not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. There are going to be those guys that, are going to be aggressive and, want to go for it no matter what. As for maybe deciding on when they want to do that, it seems like Mercado chooses really any time in particular. So, again, that's just the way he is. You're going to have those guys that are conservative. You'll have guys that will want to be aggressive and go for it at any time possible because, I guess it's just self-explanatory right there. But, that's just part of the diversity throughout this field here that we have for Season 4 of the NASCAR Series, first season on iRacing, of course, and what has been quite a transition for a lot of these guys. But the top 4 are now single file here on the inside line. That would be Hunter Young, Jonathan Peden, Mike Marini here back up to the front. We got Mark Cox now up front after being more towards the back of the field, hoping that things would shake up and he would then eventually take advantage. But no, he's decided to be up here in his number 98 Kit Kat Ford. Again, Cox has had some pretty good finishes on super speedways. He finished in... I still have that memory fog occurring.
There's a couple of second places in there. I'll pull up Sim Racer Hub.
And now I have it. He finished second at Atlanta, and then he finished third at Talladega. He also, too, finished 8th back in the season opener at Daytona. So he's finished in the top. He's finished on the podium and the top 5 twice, and in the top 10 all 3 times. So if there's anyone below the cut line that could very well win their way into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs, Mark Cox is a guy to keep an eye on. And speaking of guys to keep an eye on, too, and making picks as well, we still haven't made our picks yet on our, our 3 picks.
I think that would be foolish tonight.
I think I'm just going to get the picks over with. I'm not really going to do a whole bunch of explaining, just say them outright, see what happens. My 3 guys, you went first last time. I let you go ahead of Texas. I'm going to go first this time around. I've got Jared Ireland, Andy Hurdle, and for this 3rd pick, I have a rule here where one of our picks has to be either Jason Butler or one of the guys below the cut line. So, in other words, So, in other words, you either say, okay, Butler's going to, he's going to make his way in. He'll be just fine. One of the guys above the cut line is going to win. Maybe he wins, or maybe one of those guys takes him out of that 16 spot and they claim that final spot in the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. My decision, and I think I already said this to you earlier, Daniel Cudmore.
That is a very interesting pick. I believe he's, what, 19th right now?
He would be
But you
19th.
only have to be there in the end.
No,
That is all that matters.
That's the factor I'm trying to play off of right now. He's a conservative guy who, again, looking at results that we've seen from him on the bigger tracks, and he's actually had quite the surge in many of the past rounds that he's participated here in the series. He actually didn't even show up to Daytona. He wasn't able to. He finished 3rd at Atlanta, 9th at Talladega, and he's only got, in the past 3, 4, 5, 6 races, he's only had one finish outside the top 10, which, again, for that momentum that he has, it's disappointing knowing that he's really below the cut line and needs a win to get in. And it's even more tragic, too, knowing if Cudmore wins his way in, or, pretty much anyone below the cut line, you have to take out Jason Butler. So it's just yay, you made your way in, but you just took out one of the committee guys. So
what did you just finish saying about not explaining your picks?
I did with Ireland and Hurdle, okay?
Yeah, I kind of had to give you a little bit of the gears on that one as these guys try and find top gear here with Matthew Patak at the top of the board. Yeah, I guess that'll be a good transition into my 3 picks here. And, I'm going to start with, the rule that you put in place. And there are some, all 4 of those guys below 16th, they're all compelling options in their own different ways. But we've already seen it here tonight. I think out of that group, I think Mike Marini would be my guy out of those 5, because you've already seen that he's comfortable here at Daytona. He's a guy that, he's not afraid to get his elbows out when it matters. And he's a guy who can put down a fast lap when you need it. So that is the kind of guy you want at the very end, I would say. And so, yeah, Mike Marini, our pole sitter tonight, again, it has to be noted and is in fact noted in that graphic. He's going to be my pick for 16 and outside, we'll call that. So that leaves my other 2 picks, and I am going to go, I think one of them, I'm going to say Gibby could be there at the very end. So Ryan Gibson will be one of my picks, kind of just outside the top 10 right now, but just finished 2nd in that last stage. And again, a previous winner of the Daytona night race. So not a bad guy to have. And you left him open. Why not? Well, no, I'm not going to go with Corbin McCauley as we see pit stops. He is absolutely, basically he'd just be padding his lead, which is already massive, and will be beginning with next week's points reset. But outside of that, I think...
Whoa, trouble behind them. Jason Butler, as this first group comes onto pit road, he spins into a pit box. So we were talking about him earlier with points and even, too, making sure that no one below the cut line wins a race. That could be catastrophic right there for the number 10.
And again, we're at 5 laps remaining in this stage already. Where in the world did that time go? And Jason Butler is going to be wondering the same thing, as he's kind of doing the Austin Powers 1 routine there toward the very end, if you recall that. But yeah, not the way the number 10 had this envisioned, to say the very least.
Indeed, so I'm trying to see if anyone else is going to eventually come down pit road, but we have Patak, Wolford, and Butler in there. And Mark Cox, actually, his name disappeared for a second while he was in his box, so that kind of about gave me a heart attack right there, as he also disappears for a second right there, but he's still going. 3 cars now a lap down in Janikowski, Butler, and Cox. So again, your picks being Mike Marini, Ryan Gibson, and who's that guy?
I was about to get to Scott Bailey being my 3rd.
Okay, Scott Bailey. Yeah, that's
just with the overdue factor. I hadn't actually gotten the name out. Ooh. I was about to, but just hadn't happened just yet.
So yeah, that'd be Gibby, Marini, and Bailey for you, and then with me, it's Ireland, Hurdle, and Daniel Cudmore. So, and Surprisingly enough, or I don't even know if it'd be surprisingly enough for the super speedways, really, but fun fact, none of our picks were Corbin McCauley.
I very nearly went with Corbin McCauley.
Okay.
I was debating between him and Scott Bailey for that last one.
Yeah.
But I think for me, like, I know he's super competitive, and you would know that better than anybody else.
Yes.
But tonight, I really don't think, like, outside of, those 5 playoff points, there really isn't a reason for Corbin McCauley to go, like, super heavy into things. He's already got, 35 bonus points going in.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas for him, it's more of a want. For Scott Bailey, a guy, he's won 5 stages, but getting an additional 5 playoff points for a win tonight, that's more of a need, because that would put him up the standings significantly.
Indeed so. And again, McCauley on the super speedway, 2nd at Daytona, 8th at Atlanta, which he quite literally could have had 2nd or 3rd, but he and Scott Bailey had a moment, of course, coming off of turn 4. And then at Talladega, he was up there at the front, and I think it was even him and Bailey again. Bailey was in front, McCauley was 2nd. And then, of course, a bunch of cars started catching up after that last green flag pit window. McCauley moves up as Mangrum tries to make a move, and McCauley gets turned to the outside wall. So, again, I remember, too, back at Talladega, I decided not to go with McCauley for a pick because I just knew that he's got the speed on the super speedways, but he just doesn't have the results. So, again, he does in the intermediates, but for the super speedways, just really hasn't been able to get much done, and right now he's just kind of, it doesn't really matter too much for him, but at the end, though, if there is an opportunity to go for victory, then he will definitely go for it. But right now, we're coming here to the final lap of this second stage, lap 50. Andy Hurdle leading the way, and I would imagine this right here, if he's able to stay in front and claim the stage victory, he's practically locked in.
Well, yeah, he absolutely would be, but not only that, he'd be adding himself a playoff point for the stage win if he's able to hold on. So that will come into play immediately.
And so we see a couple of cars jostling back and forth there as they're all trying to get around and take advantage of stage points. But, and about this, here comes Scott Bailey looking for a run. He's going to go to the high side and try and side draft with Andy Hurdle. Bailey
Ohio and Michigan going at it.
Is he going to clear? Oh, he barely did. An incredible block right there.
It was barely.
So at the green checker flag, whatever, Scott Bailey is going to steal the stage. And we're getting some almost 3-wide racing right here for these final couple spots. And they're getting really close trying to get these extra stage points right here. It's Mercado in front of Paytack, and that'd be Higginbottom right there. Higginbottom's going to go for it, but this pack is going to come to the line. There's the stage caution. And, wow, a lot of good battles in that second pack right there. But how about that, though? The 88 just stole a stage victory right there from Andy Hurdle, who was that close right there. But Bailey, I actually didn't really even see him there whenever we were coming to the white flag right there, so it must have been a hell of a run that he got. But I would imagine second place for Hurdle, he's still locked in, I would imagine.
That is more than sufficient, yes.
Yes, yeah. So, I definitely want to take the ticker off here and go back because I was not expecting that surge to happen right there. Something must have happened. We'll take a look right here. So Bailey gets the run behind Bahm. He side drafts him, gets past him, also gets past Belmonte. Look at that speed right there, even with kind of some lackluster help in a way. He drafts behind Hurdle, side drafts him, and then look at this squeeze right here, right in front of him. How on earth did that not result in a spin right there? That is unbelievable work from the 88 of Scott Bailey. Hurdle must have had brown pants maybe after that one.
Man, I haven't seen that firm of a door slam since I was a child.
Oh, Jesus. Well, So that happened right there. I believe some cars may have just come off pit road, or maybe they're coming around this time. Don't know for sure. But just looking at where the top 10 is right now, Bailey leading the way, Belmonte second, Mercado third, Higginbottom fourth, Jonathan Peden fifth, C.D. Mangrum in sixth, Matthew Patak in seventh, Michael Wolford eighth, Darcy Ford's in ninth. Corbin McCauley wraps up the top 10 right now, although I do recall, though, at the end of the second stage, he was outside the stage points right there. We could simply just take the ticker off and go all the way back to see how it all ended. So
I've also got the YouTube broadcast in the background,
yes,
so I can.
I think I might have it right here, actually. It'd be Bailey, Belmonte, Mercado, Higginbottom, Peden, Mangrum, Patak, Wolford, Ford. Or maybe McCauley did. I'm trying to really go back here and see. So there's Higginbottom, Peden, Mangrum, Patak, Wolford, Ford. Okay, no, that was the top 10 there, actually, that claimed those top 10 positions. Mike Marini falling just short of that one extra point. So, in fact, McCauley did end up getting a stage point right there. I thought he was behind there. I miscalculated the where everyone was there, of course. Now everyone here on pit road looks like there's no issues here. No one's spinning or wrecking or anything. But again, we still have to have these guys come off of pit road. Again, we saw Mike Marini there spinning, coming out of pit road, and thankfully he was able to regain his position as his spin was behind the line, and there's the trouble. I was literally saying right there.
Well, that's Wolford.
Yeah, that's why I was saying we still have to wait until everyone comes off of pit road. Everyone was able to come into pit road by the looks of it just fine and into their boxes just fine, but Wolford with trouble there coming off of the pit lane. And was he... Yep, contact with Darcy Ford coming off the pit lane there. Thankfully, Wolford not getting into that safer barrier right there at the pit exit. But he's still going. I don't know if he'll... I wonder if he'll have the same situation as Mike Marini where he'll be able to catch back up and keep a position. I don't know for sure, but we will eventually see as everyone will come back around here to the pace car. Justin Belmonte leading the way with, look at that, Jose Mercado in second place. Again, we were talking about his aggressive driving throughout the season. You have that guy in second place with the third and final stage about to get underway at Daytona, of all places. Regular season finale. Everything's on the line for the number 41, and I mean... We've seen Mercado win on a super speedway before. Was it just that one time at Talladega, or has he won multiple times?
Let me go back to season 1 very quickly.
I think it was just once. I think I might be wrong because I do recall whenever I was making the description for the live stream back at Talladega, he was a past winner, but I don't think he has a Daytona. But again, though, you being here since the very beginning, you definitely would have that either in mind more, or you might have that research in front of you quicker than I do.
It certainly does check out. So season 1 victories for Mercado, you go back to Chicagoland, New Hampshire, and Dover. Season 2 was just the Talladega victory, if I recall. And yes, that's correct.
And then season 3 was Gateway?
Ding, ding, ding. The man's
I
got it.
remember that one.
Gateway and Phoenix, although... No, he did get into the championship 4 with the win at Phoenix. That's right.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah.
in essence, he's a guy who knows how to win when it matters. He's done it twice.
Still hasn't done it yet this season, though. And again, his transition to iRacing has definitely been something that we've been watching. Definitely been a storyline to witness, of course, but again, we're coming to this third and final stage of the regular season here, Season 4 for the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series, the first season on iRacing. This will be the final math checks out. It'll be the final 25 laps here at both Daytona and in the regular season. So we're going to step back here and go to the trackcams22.com, crank it up. We thank them for emphasizing and enhancing our broadcasts here for our first season on iRacing. Of course, we appreciate it. Never mind, we've got trouble in the back. Mark Cox and Andy Hurdle go around the cautions out, and I may have just jinxed everything. Calamity now?
Well, luckily, I don't think the pace car ever stopped. It just zoomed right through pit lane right in front of us.
Caution, Regan. No. Crank it up.
So yeah, that we'll have to definitely delay the crank it up now because of that.
Might just be cranking up some drama.
I mean, it's the third, again, we were saying final 25 laps. Well, eventually it will be the final 25 laps of this time around it will be. The next final 25 laps of the regular season and the final 25 laps we have at Daytona. So we'll have to check back here and see what happened between Mark Cox and Andy Hurdle. Oh, did Mike Marini get involved somehow?
Well, I guess we're about to find out, aren't we?
Okay, so a checkup happens. And, oh boy.
Yeah, there's the contact. Marini into the back of Hurdle. Again, Hurdle, he can breathe a little bit easier having just officially mathematically qualified for the Euro Ross Cup playoffs, but still not the way he wanted to celebrate, I don't think, as we'll get another look at it.
And again, you were talking about Hurdle there too. He's pretty much safe, but Mark Cox, on the other hand, though, he needs to win to get in, so that is definitely going to be... That's not the ideal situation for him, but I would imagine hopefully there's not much damage on his car. He and Hurdle didn't take, bad hits to the outside wall there, so maybe a little bit of minor damage, but I don't think it should be anything that'll cost him a chance at victory and at that final spot in the Euro Ross Cup playoffs. But we got a cockpit view here from Mike Marini.
Another guy very much in that last chance saloon situation here as well.
Yeah, and I would say with Marini, that might be a potential reputation destroyer with one or two other guys right there. But that's two guys below the cut line getting involved in stuff. I mean, Marini's still able to keep it straight, but it just, it's like we're getting those flashes back from that little test race we did before the season that wasn't broadcasted, where he, on the final lap, was aggressive, and he still was able to win, but it came at the cost of a bunch of other guys going around. So anyways,
the other variable in that, the contact came from the back, but again, the checkup is something that probably warrants a little bit more of a look there as well, because eventually you run out of room.
Yeah, indeed so. And I would say with Marini, from his cockpit view, maybe he judged the gap between Hurdle and Cox just a little, not the best way. But again, it seems I would assume everyone probably should be just fine. We're seeing Dylan Bahm here on pit road. He wasn't involved in anything, but I wonder if there might be something here related to maybe fuel, or he's going for right side tires, as we can see right there. Also going to go over the left sides, but Mark Cox is on the track right now. Andy Hurdle now one lap down. He's just coming off of pit road with 4 laps led there, of course. If I go back here very quickly, he was indeed on pit road trying to fix some repairs and even get some tires by the looks of it. Other guys were coming down pit road as well. Jason Butler was one of those guys. But the field coming around here through the tri-oval at the start-finish line. I do wonder if we're going to be going green this time by. We will. The lights are off. Everyone's going to go double file here, and we're going to try this one more time right here. We're going to be going green with, that'll be
22 at the line.
22, yes. Thank goodness for your quick math.
Well, I mean, I have my moments, but what that does is that makes Dylan Bahm's pit stop that much more interesting, I think, because 22 lap stint under green.
Oh, he's back on pit road.
I was going to say, is this live?
This is live. Yes, he's back on pit road.
So I was about to say that would be a very interesting pit stop strategy because 22 laps, like typically the field's been coming in like after 20 green flag laps for pit stops at this point. And I wonder, was that like a penalty stop? Because that was quick.
A hurdle came around as well. I wonder if that might be the same case with him, unless it might be a repair or just maybe, strategy case. But whatever it is, realistically probably penalties. But anyways, Andy Hurdle now remains the only car a lap down, so he's going to have to rely on a caution here where he hopefully, doesn't get involved. Dylan Baum's still in the lead lap. Mark Cox up there in 15th. So leading the way here when we get to 22 laps to go in the Firecracker 200 and in this third and final stage is going to be Justin Belmonte, the GTR 250 Daytona winner to start off the season, versus C.D. Magrum, who's another fast guy on the super speedways. But again, though, he's headed a little bit more messy. We mentioned before the race, of course, at Atlanta, going up in the air just before the white flag, and then at Talladega, again involved in incidents on the last lap. But you know what? We'll try it this time. The TrackCams22.com. Crank it up. Let's see what happens this time around. So that was the TrackCams22.com Crank It Up. Right there, we thank TrackCams22.com very much for their oval package custom cameras, of course, that really enhance our broadcasts here, make them really professional in the Canadian Motorsports Network for Season 4 of the NASCAR Series here on iRacing. So we appreciate them very much. We'll be definitely having, using their cameras whenever the Dart Series comes around for their next season come September, October?
Early October, I believe.
Early October.
There's a couple of weeks between
Yeah.
the end of NASCAR and the beginning of the Dart Series because we can't use that other term.
It starts with an I, but that's it.
Independent vehicles.
Yes, perfect. But anyways, back on topic here, of course, and I might as well shout out the other sponsors here as well. Holland Hurricanes, Kyle's Fried Chicken, Rampage Coffee Co., Wing Snob, who sponsored last week's race back at Texas, GTR, and of course we used SimWrap Market for one race. I believe it was back at Atlanta because the only for TrackCams22.com, the only custom cameras that they had available for Atlanta was with the old oval, not the new one. So SimWrap Market helped us out with the new oval cameras, so we appreciate them for tagging along for one race, of course, and if we ever use them again, then of course we do appreciate their cameras. But again, right back to this, we're now at 15 laps to go in the Firecracker 200. Justin Belmonte leading the way, looking for his second victory at Daytona, looking to sweep the Daytona races here in Season 4. We're seeing some jostling here back and forth as most cars up front are single file. If I get a wider camera going out here, I can see how many that would be. That would be 8 cars, up to 8th right there with Ryan Gibson. And I did notice during the Crank It Up right there, Jared Ireland had a moment where I think he got into the wall and might have been on the back straightaway, or if my memory recalls correctly right there, and he fell all the way back here to 19th. Meanwhile, Andy Hurdle right here is in this back pack, which is far behind here. This pack up here just coming off of turn 2. Meanwhile, this other pack still going through turns 1 and 2. They're just, I would imagine they have a feeling that something might start to stir up here. And speaking of that, we're starting to get some more double file racing up here. Ryan Gibson goes up to the top. Belmonte clear in the way, but now second place side by side between Mercado and Ryan Gibson. Matthew Patek following in behind the number 23. Jonathan Pedon's up here as well. So that is one guy up here up front in this top 5 looking to make their way into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs with a win. Meanwhile, other guys, Mark Cox is 11th. Daniel Cudmore's 15th. We know about Jason Butler in 16th. He's back in 17th. And then there was there another name I was missing there, or did I get everyone?
Well, Marini dropped
Marini
17th.
Yes, Marini 17th. That's the name I forgot right there. But now look at this. Ryan Gibson's now leading the way as that high side gains the bigger run. Patek gonna about almost squeezed right there in front of the bumper of Justin Belmonte. So the top 2 single file might be top 3 here on the outside. Now to the middle and the inside goes Gibson and Patek. Oh, but Gibson being aggressive right there, trying to stay in front of Matthew Patek. Again, Gibson looking for his first win in a very long time, while Patek's looking to get his second victory of the season. It'd be a second on a super speedway.
And things were just spicy a moment ago on the leaderboard. Mercado and Cox were 6th and 7th at one point. Cox dropping now to 11th. But that's the majority of the field you're seeing pretty well still in a pack right now. Nobody really dropped off the back just yet. Top 13 separated by, less than 2 seconds?
Yeah, pretty much about that here as we see some of these guys back here. And then 12 seconds behind the leader, that would be Daniel Cudmore leading the way of Dylan Bahm, Marini, Ireland, Butler, Janikowski, and the lap car of Andy Hurdle there behind Cudmore. But everyone going single file here as I Don't know if this might have something to do with potential green flag pit stops, or maybe these guys are just kind of logging laps and waiting to get a little bit more aggressive once we get to maybe around the final 5 laps or so here in this regular season finale at Daytona.
It's 10 at the line.
It will be 10 laps to go at the line, 10 laps to go in the regular season. And in this second and final race here at Daytona, we'll have one more super speedway race to do here in season 4 as Tom Janikowski. It'll be at Talladega, but now there's Tom Janikowski who goes a lap down. He'll try to find a hole somewhere, trying to find a gap somewhere in this front pack to stay with them. And I would say right now, unless he ends up falling back to the second pack and gets in behind Andy Hurdle, Janikowski would be the lucky dog if we get a caution here. And he's not involved.
Also a very fair point, but maybe a little bit of a moot one. We'll have to see, because again, it wouldn't have an impact on the final standings here as Ryan Gibson continues to lead the field here as we just tick down to 9 laps to go. There it is.
Yep.
And you know what? This is kind of like the back 9 on Sunday at Augusta. The race at Daytona really doesn't start until you're in the single lap remaining territory.
Indeed. So we are in that first lap there of single number laps to go. And right now, Gibson and Paytak still leading the way right there. Gibson, how long has it been since he's won a race? I would assume it would be 2021.
Correct. 2 seasons. And again, it was this very Daytona night race the last time he won.
And so what better way would it be for him to get his first win on the iRacing service, his first win here in Season 4, by winning at Daytona once again? It'd be for this case right there. But anyways, and then Paytak again looking for that second victory of the season. Michael Wolford still looking for his first career victory. Scott Bailey is also another guy that, like Gibby, is looking for his first win since 2021. I believe it was in June. Yeah, was it Michigan? Might have been that track, I think.
I was gonna say there were definitely some playoff races in there. Let me just
I have it written down somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Oh, and about that, here we go. We're gonna get some green flag pit stops. This is definitely gonna shake things up. It's a 4-car pack coming down pit road here with 8 laps to go. 7 laps to go now, actually.
And so for Scott Bailey, you have to go back to the Charlotte Roval, actually. As you say, June 15th.
Oh, the Roval, all right, yes.
21, that last victory.
Oh, and I'm hearing here from the other side of my wall here, I think there might have been an issue here. I think Macaulay may have taken tires when he didn't want to.
And again, if there's one guy that's absolutely not going to affect tonight, that would be the guy. But still unfortunate in that kind of final sequence.
And coming down pit lane is this other big pack right here led by Justin Belmonte. Oh, and I think there might have been a little bit of contact from behind. Mercado in the wall. I think that might have been with Higginbottom, and Magram also tagged the wall there as well as another pack comes around the tri-oval. And Magram is going to lose a ton of spots right there as he has trouble in his pit stall. So a bunch of cars coming off the pit lane right there.
One going in reverse, though, that being Jose Mercado. That is absolutely not the direction he wanted to be going, to say the very least.
Indeed so. So leading the way now is the 88 of Scott Bailey behind the lap car of Tom. Or actually, no, Janikowski's back on the lead lap. Oh, and there's trouble! Up and over is going to go Wolford. He's upside down, down through the end of the tri-oval with 5 laps to go, and that's going to change everything.
Right in the aftermath of the green flag pit stops.
Oh, goodness.
You had a feeling it was coming.
So just like Talladega, we're going to get that late caution, and we're going to have one restart here to decide who's going to win.
How many
the
wide
Firecracker
can Daytona
200.
possibly go? We're going to see it.
Exactly, but that was definitely not the way I was expecting it, but I mean, at the same time, no surprise that we got a car up and over. I am baffled by that one. Good
Yeah,
gracious.
I mean, at this point, that infield lake isn't safe.
Yeah. Someone's going to end up in Lake Lloyd somehow. But we're going to take a look here at what happened. We saw Janikowski and Bailey catching up. A big run for Janikowski. He goes up high. And yeah.
Oh!
Good gracious. Hard hit for Wolford. He goes up and over, sliding down through the trial. It reminds me of an ARCA crash where a 3-wide situation got a little too close and a car went up and over and skidded down through the end of the tri-oval, and that resulted in the end of the race. So definitely not the way we wanted to see that come to an end right there, and we'll get a fan angle right here. Good gracious.
Yeah, that was some heavy contact there. And again, Wolford, that is, we were talking about Mercado being in reverse, not being a good place to be. Having your wheels on the ground, or not on the ground, is significantly worse.
A great camera angle right there, but I'm surprised by the way Janikowski went up to him right there, like just a bad decision making, like just bad judgment on the side drafting, or like I don't know what to say to that one.
Yeah, that one's a little bit strange, especially, Janikowski was, toward the back of the field as well, it should be noted. And yeah, there's the onboard with Wolford, who just kind of got rolled over.
Oh, God.
Too late.
Yeah.
You already laughed. Too late.
I had to. Yeah, we both make incredible jokes every time, but anyways, though, Wolford's pretty much locked in the playoffs anyways, so no biggie for him right there, but definitely not the way he wanted to end off the regular season, of course, as I'm going to see if anyone did come down pit road. Yes, a bunch of cars actually did. We'll take the ticker off here very quickly just to take a look at this. Scott Bailey, Dylan Bahm down pit road, and I believe that's Jared Ireland. Corbin McCauley also coming down pit road. So I was saying earlier too, like, we could, that green flag pit window, it could change things up, and personally I didn't want to see it kind of play out like the GTR 250 did, where we only had a 3-car pack going for it at the end with Belmonte, McCauley, and Dylan Bahm. And it seems like I got my wish right there, because something out of nowhere happened right in front of us. And what do you know?
Look at that something, 1-2.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Mike Marini, 17th in points, the first guy below the cut line. Jason Butler, the number 10, 16th in points. Butler has to rely on one of the 4 guys below the cut line not winning their way into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. If Marini wins, Butler's done. But if Marini doesn't win, and neither does Cox, who again, Mark Cox is there back in 5th. Jose Mercado's in 11th. Daniel Cudmore all the way back in 13th. Oh, and Jason Butler, what in the world just happened there?
That is a fantastic question. Hopefully not a playoff killer for him.
That is very strange.
Yeah, I can't see what's going on there.
Yeah, I'll be back here in a second.
Not enough gas.
Oh boy, Butler didn't have enough gas.
I was 1 lap short.
He was
under caution for that to happen.
He was 1 lap short of fuel.
That, I hate to
That
say
could
it,
be,
under caution. I hate to say it, that's driver error, a miscalculation.
that could, knowing we have Mike Marini and Mark Cox up here in first and fourth, that could be catastrophic for Butler's season right there. And knowing the roller coaster of a season that he has had, he certainly wouldn't want to, end off that kind of regular season roller coaster on that note, and it could very well end off like that. But again, though, that's two cars in the top 5. Or actually, no, if we look at the whole top 10, that's 3 of the 10 cars that need to win to make their way in. So, again, the other 7 guys, if any of those other 7 guys win, Butler's safe. But still, there's more of an advantage with guys that are over the cut line and, would be just fine for Butler. But still, there are those 3 guys there we know how fast all 3 of them are, and we know how aggressive they can be, especially Marini and Mercado. So, buckle your seatbelts, grab some popcorn. It's time for a 2-lap shootout to end the regular season here at Daytona. 2 laps to go in the Firecracker 200. Here we go. Mike Marini with a huge jump. And
this is going to be a firecracker of a finish.
This is not going to help Marini because they're going to get a massive run here on the number 12. And my stomach's already getting butterflies right here. I bet yours are hopefully too. There's almost contact between Ford, Higginbottom, and Belmonte. Hunter Young being aggressive in behind right there as well.
Marini immediately swallowed up.
It would not surprise me if something happened here. Cox is going to almost go to the middle. He is wiggling hard. He's going to keep his car straight. Everyone's still going. And
this is going to sound horrible, but Cox is looking for a gap.
Oh, no. 3 wide back here. Magra McCauley and Bob. Marini's going to go around. He's going to save it. He's going to come back up. They're going to crash. Yes, they will. White flag is still out. And that's going to do it for Marini. And another car I believe that's Hunter Young. But the white flag is
down the board fast here too.
The white flag is out. There's more cars spinning towards the back. Oh, and that's going to do it for Daniel Cudmore's season right there. But we're still green. The white flag is out. Here comes Darcy Ford to the inside. He's looking for his first win in a long time. Oh, and Belmonte up into the wall. Three wide. Oh, McCauley gets turned!
Oh, Jesus!
Ty Higginbottom to the lead. The defending series champions in front.
What in the hell
CD
is going
Magram
on
is
here?
going to try and get him. No! The 97 Ty Higginbottom is going to win the Firecracker 200 at Daytona International Speedway. It's been a while since Higginbottom has been to victory lane. His first win of the season. How about that? We've seen a different winner at every super speedway this season. Have you ever?
That was chaos from top to bottom in the field. So you ask me, have I ever? No, that is the craziest finish I have seen in the 4 seasons of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
And they waited until the final lap to get all of that done. And would you look at that, Jason Butler giving some friendly taps to Higginbottom. There is your final driver to make the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. The number 10 of Jason Butler is in.
And just when it seemed like absolutely everything was going wrong, because not 5 minutes ago, we were talking about driver error in relation to running out of fuel for Jason Butler. Somehow he survives all of the chaos. Pretty well every other driver outside of maybe Jose Mercado that needed to win to get in got tied up in something. So Jason Butler, by basically keeping it on the track, navigating through anything, everything, kitchen sinks, you name it, he somehow survives, and that is how he's going to make the Earl Ross Cup playoffs for the first time.
So
I've got nothing.
Yeah, you can tell I am I have completely lost my voice right there after that one, and I am still feeling under the weather with some symptoms, but I was able to make it through that one, and so was, through all that carnage, Ty Higginbottom gets his first victory of Season 4, and with how many, does he have multiple, does he have more on the super speedways? Or is this his first?
Let me just think here. Oh, geez, that's going to be an interesting question. So Super Speedway, he won the title last year at Homestead, Miami. So that's,
Yes.
an inter.
Yes.
Let's see. I have season 2 up here. So W's at Charlotte, Auto Club, and Martinsville. So that doesn't fit the bill. And yeah, there is already some things that can't be repeated in the background. We'll put it that way. Iowa, Darlington, Texas, and Homestead, Miami were Higgy's 4 victories last season.
And give me a second here whenever I get into the loop. And that might have been a little awkward right there because Ty Higginbottom just went out of the server right there. So I guess we'll probably just have to deal with scenic views here.
Is it confirmed that I made the playoffs there, Regan?
I'm actually getting word here from Jason. I guess I'll keep myself unmuted just to tell him here. But Jordy, yes, he is in though. Can you tell me that?
Absolutely, he's in. I mean, no one else that was behind him won. He's in.
Yeah, Jason, I'll keep myself unmuted here, of course, but you have made the Earl Ross Cup playoffs officially. Congratulations. So yeah, I just relayed the word there to Jason. He is in. He claims that 16th and final spot, of course. But let's take a look here at the unofficial results of the regular season finale, the Firecracker 200. I will try and get a replay here after this of every single wreck that we did see here, of course, but we'll quickly go through this. Ty Higginbottom.
Nice to hear. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, and Jason giving me a reply right there, so nice to
Got a
get
little
that.
barrier there at the end, but yeah.
Yeah. So Ty Higginbottom, the number 97 Toyota defending series champion, ends the regular season on a high note with a victory here at Daytona. Dylan Bahm will claim second place. Scott Bailey will claim third. Andy Hurdle with a very solid run there in top 5 after literally being a lap down. Again, I believe Janikowski was on the lead lap. So he was very lucky to get that lucky dog and claim the top 5. Justin Belmonte, leading multiple laps, claims 5th. Darcy Ford finishes 6th. Matthew Paytak 7th. Jonathan Peden 8th. And then you got 2 guys at the bottom there, and Jose Mercado and Mark Cox, who were up there with an opportunity to steal the show against Jason Butler, but they will claim 9th and 10th, and neither driver is going to make the Earl Ross Cup playoffs.
And for Jose Mercado, that's his first time missing. And that's going to be a different vibe for the 41 over the next 7 weeks, as you went through the top 10 there, did you?
Say that again, sorry?
Is that where you wound up? Was the end of the top 10? I was kind of working on something in the background.
Yes, Mercado and Cox.
Okay, so yeah, now we go to, again, more unofficial results here, as you can even see the final result a little bit scrambled on our board. CD Mangrum 11th, Ryan Gibson 12th, Jason Butler 13th, barely kind of finding his way into the playoff picture because it absolutely was looking bleak there for the last little bit. You see Hunter Young a little bit further down the board, unofficially listed 14th, but listed a few spots lower. Then you've got series leader Corbin McCauley in 15th, Mike Marini, who was there right at the end, ultimately 16th. The last car technically classified on the lead lap there, although I wonder about some of the times. Then you've got Dan Cudmore and Jared Ireland a lap down. Tom Janikowski 6 laps down, and then I believe Andy Hurdle would round out the field in 20th after that incident that began stage 3.
No.
Oh, well, oh right, Wolford. What happened there? So Hurdle ends up 4th?
Yeah, he got 4th.
He was 20th at one point.
Yeah, I mentioned that. He was a lap down at the back of the field, and then he got the lucky dog and got 4th.
That tells you how many things just happened.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Michael Wolford there. We'll wrap up the field in 20th, 6 laps down, of course, going up and over in a big crash through the tri-oval with Tom Janikowski. But, of course, Wolford is safe, so all good there for him. And now I'm going to try and go all the way back here and see if I can catch these crashes that happen to end off this race. Yeah, I can see some of them there, but we're going to go a little bit more back and try and catch some of this here. More towards the back right here. So we got a bunch of... Actually, no, it was through the tri-oval where we had the situation with Mike Marini. So I think I'm going to go for the blimp angle in this one. You see here Marini getting pushed by Ford, still getting loose, and then that one final bump says it all, and then I don't know what to say about this. This might be controversial.
I certainly know how the guy on the other end feels about it.
Indeed. So and then there was more here with Daniel Cudmore and Andy Hurdle, and then right here, oh, Cox into the side there, Cudmore. Oh, Hunter Young.
Oh!
Oh, man. And then he gets hit again by Ryan Gibson. Good gracious. And then right here, Bailey. Oh, wow. Great avoidance for him. Not for Gibson, however. And then you see this other pack right here. Look at these. Watch these moves right here. Down the back straightaway. Everyone getting runs. You see Mercado, Peden getting in there. And then before you know it, carnage.
Man, oh man.
Just a trash heap.
Yikes.
And then, yeah, so Belmonte did get up into the wall there, and then he turned Mercado, and he was able to still get through everyone there and get up to the front. And then, of course, we see with these guys here, they make it all the way up. And Dylan Bahm, he almost had second place, had the run gone maybe a little bit earlier, but Magrum barely able to pull off second place right there. But I saw that avoidance from Scott Bailey, who finished third. I want to go all the way back and see how he was able to get through all this. So he's back here at the very, back of the field. Great avoidance. Look at the far chase angle on this one, actually. Much better angle. So above Andy Hurdle, you see up there, good Lord, Gibson almost sideswipes him. Look at Bailey down on the apron past Hunter Young and Daniel Cudmore, and then we'll have to have a little bit more patience here. So he and Jason Butler there get together there to help each other. Actually, no, Bailey completely abandons Butler. Oh, and I think I may, or did I just lose the session there? Or no, okay, I had a bit of a glitch going on right there. We're all good. Okay, well this, what is happening?
Too much.
But yeah, you can see them getting past everyone. A bit of sparks right there, but so yeah, Bailey comes home third. Jason Butler claims 13th by the looks of it, yeah. So, but all that matters, I mean, yeah, did get 13th or whatever it was, but all that matters with Jason Butler is he is in the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. And again, that's all that matters.
So before we go live, I just actually got a little bit of a clarification from CD Mangrum on the back, because we were talking about a second place finish, but there's a black flag situation involving the one.
Okay, actually, I was just reading something about that, so
still under review. That's why the results we provided are very much unofficial.
Now, the thing is, I see him in 11th now. So
that's where I saw him on that board when we were given the results.
Yeah. So I don't maybe the black flag did apply right there. I don't know for sure. But if it did, then maybe 11th place is indeed the result. So in that case, it would be Higginbottom, Baum, and Bailey that would be the top three, and then Hurdle still fourth, and Belmonte. I think that might be the way it is. But again, the official results will come out. I would imagine either later tonight or probably tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, though, what does matter here at the end, Jason Butler was able to secure the final spot, and you can see here the celebration from the 97 of Ty Higginbottom winning the final race of the regular season. And we'll just go back live and might as well be scenic right there. But if we want to take the point standings here one last time before heading into Daytona here, what you see of this playoff grid, of course, there might be some maneuvers throughout the field, but what is known is that all these guys that you see right there, although you'll have to add Higginbottom into another guy that won his way in, so he'll be in that little, with those other guys with the green bars there. So that's 6 drivers there that won their way into the playoffs. The rest of the way from 1st to 16th there, or 7th to 16th, sorry, field. Meanwhile, everyone else there you see currently out. Those guys, unfortunately, including like Marini, Mercado, Cudmore, Cox, Warren, Janikowski, all those guys will not be eligible for an Earl Ross Cup.
And again, there's a couple of surprising names there, it has to be said, like Jose Mercado, Mike Marini. They've been playoff stalwarts the entire way. And, this is the first time either guy has missed. So this is going to be a completely different environment, completely different feel for those two. And yeah, it kind of speaks to the depth of field now that we've got guys who've been in the playoffs all 3 seasons now missing. Part of that could be, the transition to iRacing as well. But ultimately, the guys who performed when they needed to, they have been rewarded for it. And now, as crazy as tonight was, we are looking at a 7-week sprint to a title.
Indeed we are, and this is where, we're all talking about, most pivotal points of the season and such. We saw... Don't go to our faces there, apparently. Yeah, I was actually seeing that you were lagging there a little bit, so we'll just kind of, get the scenic views of Daytona. Might as well end it off in a beautiful visual manner instead of a laggy face right there, of course. But yes, I've constantly said, most pivotal points in the season. We just had it right there with the regular season finale, but now we're getting to an even more pivotal point, and that is the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. And if we look at the schedule here, this is how the playoffs are going to go, beginning with round 1 with a short track and an intermediate at Richmond Raceway, our first race there this season, and then we return to Kansas Speedway. So 200 laps at Richmond, 167 laps at Kansas for the round of 16. Then we eliminate 4 drivers right there, and then in the round of 12, we have 2 tracks right there, which we, I would say for Charlotte especially, some really good tracks that we've seen based on next-gen performance. 94 laps in our return to Talladega. What other way to begin the second round? And then we go to Charlotte for 167 laps. Definitely will help that there will be less laps than the 200-lap, our version of the Coke 600, which took forever. And then
thank God there's less.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got, after that, 4 more drivers eliminated. We got the round of 8 at Las Vegas and Auto Club, 2 other tracks where the next gen performs incredibly well. And then to wrap it all up, we eliminate another 4 drivers, and we go to Homestead. We return to Homestead Miami Speedway for 167 laps on September 12th. So from August 1st, so in the span of just over a month, we're going to find out who is going to become the 2023 Earl Ross Cup champion and who is going to put their name into the history books in the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series.
Yeah, and I think it's just, tonight's an indicator. It's only going to get more and more wild from here.
Indeed so. So that'll do it for you here in the booth here, Jordy. I'm going to see if I can try and get a post-race winner interview here with Ty Higginbottom. I'm sure I personally would love to have that happen, knowing the interviews that we've had with Higginbottom before, especially after he won the Earl Ross Cup last season. He is a very popular dude. Everyone loves him. Just a great guy to talk to, of course, and recently, of course, just had a move in the States, going back to North Carolina. So in between all those moves and such, now here he is a Season 4 race winner. So again, that'll do it for Jordy here in the commentary booth, the color commentator that's been here since the very beginning, of course, here in the Canadian Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series from Alberta, Canada, on the other side of the country. Jordy, we appreciate you coming on once again, providing your very educational and essential insight, and of course all your notes and the information for past seasons where I wasn't here, of course, back in season 1 and 2. So we appreciate your time, and Jordy, I'll be seeing you next Tuesday night to begin another Earl Ross Cup playoffs at Richmond.
Not before one last observation on my part, though.
All right, go ahead.
Obviously, you know, it's perfect that you're going to be interviewing Higgy after this. Everybody knows he's a meteorologist.
Yes.
I wouldn't want anyone else analyzing that particular shitstorm. Like, let's be real about it.
Indeed. So, again, Jordy, appreciate your time. Glad to have you here, of course. And, playoffs begin next Tuesday night. It's only going to get more entertaining from here as we're going to start eliminating some drivers.
All right, man. We'll see you then.
Indeed. So, folks, don't go away just yet. I'm going to try and figure out a way to get an interview here with Ty Higginbottom. So stay tuned. We gotta end this regular season off somehow here after all that just happened, and maybe get a little bit more positive in a way. But just don't go away. Stay tuned. Hopefully we'll be back with Ty Higginbottom. Alrighty, folks, we are back here for the post-race interview for the Firecracker 200 at Daytona International Speedway for our regular season finale here, Season 4 of the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. And I've got with me none other than the number 97 Toyota of defending series champion, Ty Higginbottom, ending the regular season off on a very high note. And Ty, before I go into any questions, I just wanted to say Jordy left a quote with me here for which was word for word, and yes, there's even language. Ty's the perfect guy to talk to because I'd want a meteorologist to analyze that shitstorm.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those for sure. Those last few laps.
Indeed so. I mean, yeah, you had to get through all that carnage there on that final lap right there from the tri-oval right all the way back around of course, just carnage everywhere. I mean, I'm sure you probably, I would say you probably weren't expecting it anyway. Can you remind me again where you were on that final restart? Where were you again?
I was in 5th place when we got the green.
Okay, so you were still up there, but you were able to weave your way through everything. I mean, those runs, especially too, that everyone got packed together through turns 3 and 4. I bet that must have given you some butterflies and maybe close to brown underwear. But then again, though, you could say the same thing for everyone else, of course. But I guess, first question is, how does it feel? It has been a while since you've won a race here, of course, and, it's been kind of an up and down campaign for you, especially in this transition to iRacing. So overall, how does it feel to finally be back in victory lane and ending off the regular season on a high note?
Yeah, it actually feels pretty good being able to talk to you again. It's been a while. Yeah, it's definitely been the transition to iRacing. This being, my first year even on it. It's definitely taken getting accustomed to. It's totally different than Heat 5. And, through the races, it's, I feel like I've been running decent. I've been getting good qualifying runs, and then just stuff happens where I just have a mistake on pit road or just minor things or getting, wrecked or getting into wrecks, just, not getting the results I've been wanting to get. But it seems like tonight I was lucky enough to avoid all of that carnage there on the last few laps. Talladega, I was up there and I came down on Mangrum there and wrecked myself, so that was on me. But yeah, it feels great, especially the last race of the year, getting that win, going into the playoffs. Definitely gives you, a good boost going into there and valuable, playoff points for sure.
Yeah, definitely morale boost and gives you plenty of momentum heading in to fight along with all those other guys like Corbin McCauley, Scott Bailey, Jared Ireland, who's recently been having a great run right there. But I can definitely say one thing. You definitely gave a sigh of relief to, the guy that through turns 3 and I believe it was turns 3 and 4 was giving you that little side bumps on the right side there. Jason Butler, hey, you're able to quote unquote help him get that final spot in the playoffs instead of any of those other guys below the cut line that were right there, especially like Jose Mercado and Mark Cox. But you were able to help him out, quote unquote.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I kind of feel bad for the 98. I kind of got into him there. I think it was like 2 laps to go. I got him to him and it sent him into the wall. That I totally did not mean to. On my end, I didn't see him. But yeah, it was, I saw the 12 up there, the 41 was up there most of the race, and all those guys were, battling for getting into that final spot. And yeah, I was trying to be respectful to them, let them do what they want to do. I felt pretty comfortable with my points, but if the opportunity was there, you're a race car driver, you want to get that win. And that's what it ended up doing. But yeah, it was, I saw, Jason came to me at the end of the race, gave me a couple side bumps there and knocked me down to the apron. He was giving me so many bumps, but yeah, he made sure that he he said they were good bumps, but I knew it. So, I'm sure Jason's messaged me, and I'll have to chat him later on and see what he has to say.
For sure. And now, heading into this race, of course, now again, your first win here now, and just, kind of that, I guess we could call it a roller coaster of a campaign that you've had here in your first season here on iRacing in this transition. Heading into the season, how the regular season had been going thus far, heading into Daytona, have you, expectation-wise, have you been, have you felt that you fulfilled them? Do you think that you've, you could be, heading before tonight, could be better? Is it just, a matter of patience? Just kind of, how are your expectations aligning with how you performed so far, which I bet is probably different now, knowing you just won here tonight, of course, and you're getting momentum to the playoffs. But before tonight, I want to know, how aligned were you with your expectations as the season was going on, especially in your, in this transition?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I do have a lot of patience. I'm definitely one of the most patient people you can meet. But there comes to a point where you get along in the season and you're like, I'm not up to par with these guys. I don't have the same speed. And, it kind of sits in the back of your head a little bit. And, it feels great getting a win. But, it's at a restrictor plate. It's at Daytona. So a lot of, anybody can win at Daytona or Talladega. So it definitely, feels good, gets the momentum going. But I'm to be honest, Riggs, I have the confidence I can, kind of make a push in the playoffs. If I don't make those, silly mistakes I've done or, get in wrecks or anything like that, I feel like I can, if I get good, consistent top 10, top 5s, I can, make a little bit of noise. But, man, you got Corbin, you got Jared, you got Scott Bailey, you got Justin Belmonte. Those guys are just on another level. And I somehow need to find it. I've been trying the past 13 races to find it, but it's definitely going to be a challenge for sure. And I definitely feel like I've been up to my standard from where I wanted to be. I definitely feel like I'm a little bit more better than I was when I started. Definitely didn't get some of the results I wanted, but overall, pretty with before this race being 8th in points with all the talent that we have.
Yeah, and I bet, too, being the defending champion and transitioning over to another completely different service, I bet that's definitely put a little bit of pressure on you. But now that you have a win here, and now you're going to have momentum heading into the playoffs, where now we're going to start eliminating drivers, and it's just going to get more and more competitive. I bet by at least the round of 8, it's really going to start getting chaotic. And knowing your history here, how you've been doing, and now you have this momentum here, and the races where you have great pace and you end up getting those good results whenever you do, you have that speed, you have that momentum, and you have the attitude and that patience as well. So I believe it's all gonna come, play perfectly well, at least in my opinion. I'm sure you'll be hoping for that as well. So, other than that, is there anyone you want to thank at all, like sponsors or just, friends, family or whatever? Give a little bit of a shout out to some people,
I'd like to give a big shout out to my biggest supporters, my grandma. I'm sure y'all seen her comment on y'all's post all the time. She's watches every single race. I think she even sometimes writes the results down of where everybody finishes. So I want to give a shout out to her. She texts me after every race. If I get taken out, you got next week. You got next week. So definitely her. Shout out to my dad and then my mom and all of them. They watch the races as well. So, and all my friends and then sponsors. I got the Air Force, and then I got Rocky's Hot Chicken Shack, my favorite restaurant where I moved to. And, just even bringing that up, my other sponsor is UNC Asheville, and I moved back here, and, being able to, keep racing as I'm, moving halfway across the country was a challenge in itself. But I had great family and great friends to kind of support me and keep pushing me through. So I just want to give a big shout out to them.
Awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. No doubt that support will help you out, especially with having a guy like you here, and we're very happy to have you, of course. But, of course, that's going to do it here for this post-race winner interview with the number 97 Toyota, the defending series champion Ty Higginbottom getting his first win of the season. No better way to end off the regular season than to get the job done in the midst of all kinds of cartage and crap and however else you want, but you can use as many terms as possible here at Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing. So once again, Ty, buddy, congratulations on the win. I'm sure this momentum will definitely help you catch up and, really give a challenge to the bigger boys, like Macaulay, Bailey, Ireland, all those guys and such. There's no doubt that you'll be fighting up there with them. So again, congratulations, celebrate it well, and we will see you when the Earl Ross Cup playoffs begin at Richmond next Tuesday night.
Thank you, Riggs.
No problem, buddy. So of course, folks, that officially does it here for this live production here tonight for Season 4 of the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. We definitely witnessed a lot of carnage there at the very end. We did, of course, first two stages went, fully green. We had some moments on pit road. Thankfully, it stayed there. Stage 3 kind of had a bit of an awkward start, but we were able to keep it going after that. And then, the green flag pit window went on. Then we had that very, very weird big crash between Michael Wolford and also Tom Janikowski. And then, we get that late restart. Everyone does make it around, I would say, almost the entirety of that first lap, but not even that. It was more towards maybe turn 3 at best. And then, carnage begins, and Ty Higginbottom is the man that's able to get through all of it unscathed. And a big shout out to the 88 of Scott Bailey for also getting through all of that carnage. Incredible wreck avoidances for him. But, of course, Ty Higginbottom collecting his first win of the season. A lot of momentum for him heading into the 2023 Earl Ross Cup playoffs, the 4th playoffs here in the series history. So, once again, we'd like to thank you all very much for listening and watching, tuning in to this live production here on the iRacing service of the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series. We will see you all next Tuesday night. I need to get the date here correct for sure. Yes, that'll be Tuesday, August 1st at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We will see you all back here on the YouTube channel to broadcast the first race of the playoffs at Richmond to begin the round of 16. So we will see you then. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care and have a good one. It's time to eliminate some drivers and find out who will become the new Earl Ross Cup champion. Take care, folks.